should help us to manifest a robust interfaith engagement at the UN Climate Conference and on behalf of humanity and all species. So I sent an agenda, which Asmaira is graciously putting into the meeting chat. And so I would just like to begin according to this agenda with an update on work toward a faith-based pavilion. There was an expression of interest that was sent out to a number of organizations, and just want to invite Iyad to share a little bit more about that and to whom it went out to, and the idea behind this expression of interest for leading sessions at a faith pavilion at COP28.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Jonathan, for chairing this session. Very much appreciated. Yes, a quick update with all the coordination team partners and the core team. We have developed, with your support and your contributions, an expression of interest. The purpose of this is to solidify, what we will be doing during COP28. Of course, this will be also based on the discussions that we will continue having during these coordination meetings. However, hearing and learning from you over the past few months, we came to agree that we need to focus on the priorities of COP, certainly, because we need to be relevant to the discussions. And we need to be inclusive. That means we need to hear from all faith and religions as well as interfaith organizations. And we need to be inclusive in addition in terms of regional perspectives. And I know that there are regional consultations and probably some regions will be holding some climate summits in preparation for COP28. So we would like to hear from those as well. In addition, the voices of youth and women are very important to be on the table of discussions. So the expression of interest will have those as criteria for the selection of the sessions. So the expression of interest was sent, I believe, according to our partners at the Muslim Council of Elders, to 3,000 email addresses. However, we are focusing on those who are accredited to start with, because we are trying to bring the people who are committed, who come usually to COPs in different versions, and that can mobilize their own networks as well. That does not mean if there is a possibility to host other organizations in the zone we will be at, whether it is the blue zone or the green zone, we will be inclusive in terms of allowing other faith organizations who are not accredited to be able to participate and raise their concerns, voices, and share their experiences. On this point, we also are encouraging organizations to come to share experiences and success stories, because we want this to be action-oriented and commitment-oriented. So we want to learn from other organizations what they have been doing, what are the success stories that they can share, and what they can bring to other organizations to adopt or adapt these success stories. So hopefully over the next 3 weeks now, I believe, we will be receiving this expression of interest. And in fact, we have been receiving some offline, not to the email address that we have identified, asking that they are very much interested to submit expression of interest, but we will centralize that We will have the core team, coordination team, to review these submissions. It will not be a call of one organization, but it will be a coordinated approach by all organizations. And hopefully by, let's say, 1st of August, we would have a clear vision of what's going to happen at COP28, how many sessions, hopefully who will be the speakers, the distribution of these sessions over the 14 or 12 days of the COP. So this is where we are today. And I, of course, encourage each one of you to share if you have already received the expression of interest. If you have not, please let us know. But we very much appreciate that you share it with your networks. We might have strong voices with good experiences that we can all learn from. Thank you, and back to you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Iyad. Mohammed, is there anything that you want to add to this in regards to the the work on the Faith Pavilion?
I would just like to add that the expression of interest has been sent to only the database specified by the core group, and we will send a different message to the 3,000 in terms of advocacy and announcement of the Faith Pavilion. And this would be the stage 2, according to the recommendations from UNIP and other partners in the core group meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mohammed. I'll also share that there's been some work done on a strategy document that the team at the Faith for Earth has been working on that in earnest, and there's also been input from a number of others. We've also had a meeting with RIFS Potsdam Institute. They are going to be providing some consulting services to try to design a faith pavilion in a way that would be most conducive to people engaging and having a meaningful experience there, and not just having frontal sessions of people speaking and everyone else listening. So that's a process that's also underway. And I'll also share that we have we're also receiving some price quotes from public relations firms that we're also seeking to hire a PR firm to assist with communications around interfaith engagement. And so we're in the process, and we'll be sending a terms of reference document to some PR firms to solicit price quotes from them. We've already received some price quotes, but to solicit some more. And hopefully that we'd hire a PR firm for 4 or 5 months in advance of the COP, and then for 1 month following the COP. So that's a little bit about the pavilion, and there's also, just to update you, so that Mohammed from the Muslim Council of Elders has been coordinating efforts with the Emirati pavilion organizers, and so now there's currently a conversation about whether such a pavilion would be in the blue zone or the green zone. Anyone else want to add anything in regards to the pavilion efforts? Okay, great. So then the second item that I put on the agenda is about inviting religious figures to COP28 in regards to badges, accommodation, and travel costs. So as in previous COPs, there are a small number of religious figures and a little bit larger number of clergy who are planning to come. And if anyone on this call knows of religious figures or clergy who are planning to attend COP28, I'd appreciate if you could send me an email with their names. In addition, we would like to invite other religious figures to attend so that there can be a robust presence. Several of us on this call had a call a couple weeks ago with the Foreign Office of the United Kingdom, and they informed us that King Charles is going to be attending the first few days of COP28, and that he'll be doing so based on his title as the Supreme Governor of the Church of England, which the Church of England actually just a few days ago divested from oil and gas companies. So that's another aspect of the interfaith effort, that there likely would be some engagement with King Charles, and that hopefully be worked out in the coming months. But another part of this aspect is badges, because in order to be able to have many religious figures there and clergy, it would require us getting badges. So some of the conversation has been about how can we reach out to countries, or which are the parties to the convention, which have the largest pool of badges, about them accrediting religious figures. Again, if you have any contacts with focal points in different party delegations, that would be helpful to know, because we do hope to be able to get a larger pool of badges than the faith communities have had in previous COPs. Comments, questions at this point? So I'll also just add in regards to accommodation and travel costs, that this is another issue that needs to be worked out, to essentially getting blocks of rooms, of hotel rooms in Dubai, and to be able to offer to pay for travel costs of religious figures, and trying to secure budget for that. That's also something that is sort of a point to be determined in terms of how much budget we would have to make such invitations. And if anyone has any additional budget to add to this collective effort, then please let us know. I will mention that the Muslim Council of Elders has committed to cover the cost of the pavilion, and the Episcopal Diocese of California has also committed at least $50,000 toward this effort, and other partners are also committing different sums. So it's really a collective effort to try to enable both the cost of the pavilion as well as a PR firm and accommodations and lodging for religious figures. Okay, so any comments or questions about that aspect?
Rabbi Jonathan, just Joel Kelling here from the Anglican Alliance. Just really good to hear about King Charles, who is obviously an Anglican as well. Just to let you know, I'll put this in the email, but Hossam Naum, who's the Archbishop in Jerusalem, is going to be invited. He's one of the 2 Anglican archbishops that will be there as religious leaders. And just for your information, he was there at the coronation of King Charles and knows him in a personal capacity, has done since he visited Israel and Palestine about 5 years ago. So I think that's just good to be able to link with, and really good news. I don't know if there are other Anglicans we need to invite, but just to let you know, we've got 2 senior leaders, 2 of our archbishops will be there.
That's great to hear. Do you know who the other archbishop will be? And will Archbishop Justin
yes, you may. Unfortunately not. We did reach out to his office, but he's not available at this time. I think if the meeting in Rome goes ahead, he might be at that. But the other archbishop will be Bishop Julio Murray, who I think you might have met in Sharm el-Sheikh, who's our global lead on climate justice.
Okay, great. So, and then just in regards to Alexandra's question in the chat, there's now some question about whether a religion pavilion would be in the blue zone or the green zone, and I don't think that we have clarity on that unless someone wants to say otherwise. Okay, so then I will move on to the next item, which is just an update on the high-level faith leaders meeting in Rome. Would someone like to share about that? Maybe Iyad or Mohammed?
You can go ahead, yeah. I will add anything that you're missing.
Exactly what? Sorry,
About the high-level religious leaders meeting in Rome.
yeah, well, probably Muhammad, you know better than I do. But we're working on it. There is sort of a commitment from His Holiness Pope Francis to hold a meeting in Rome, let's say. And we're discussing probably the most probable dates would be the 4th and 5th of November. The meeting will be limited to faith leaders, with probably some invitations to representatives of youth and women, and probably some UN delegates. It will be almost for a day and a half. The first day will be, the usual faith leaders' call to action and some commitments or declarations. And the second day, we are going to be discussing how faith leaders would continue to be engaging on not only climate change, but also all issues that are related, even the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals in general. So the idea is to expand the work of faith leaders together as a united front on global challenges. And this is very much welcome, and it is something that would keep the engagement of faith leaders on global issues. Sorry. And so we're trying to design the agenda to discuss climate change, but also other issues in a very brief, one day. The second day of the meeting after the official ceremony with the presence of Pope Francis and other faith leaders. I hope I have covered everything, Muhammad. If you have anything to add, please go ahead.
I would like just to add that the meeting will be a collaborative efforts between the Muslim Council of Elders, UNEP and COP presidency, and the Vatican, and also the Church of England, and the World Council of Churches, and all the partners and FBOs. And as he had mentioned, it's going to be a high-level religious leaders meeting. Like maybe we're thinking to invite around from 25 to 30 religious leaders, high-level religious leaders, and also some of the organizations that include representing women and also youth. And there is going to be like an outcome, which is hopefully to be a strategic document and a statement that hopefully the religious leaders will buy into and approve it, and that would be like will draw some of the involvement and engagement of the religious leaders from now until 2030.
Wonderful. Well, it's exciting to hear about this effort. Any questions or comments in regards to this high-level faith leaders meeting in Rome at the Vatican? Okay, great. So I'd also then like to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is an update on an interfaith statement for COP28. Bishop Mark Andrus has been working on this, and there's been input from a number of people. I know that it's very early in the morning for Bishop Mark, even though he's been on previous calls at this time, but it's essentially before sunrise his time, so he's not on the current call, but I'll just mention that this statement, it's going to undergo a number of drafts, but it would be part of this overall effort, and similar to previous COPs where there was also interfaith statements that were released that have input from people from many faiths and draw on many faith traditions. Does anyone want to add anything in regards to an interfaith statement?
Hi guys, this is Steve. Just quickly, I believe Bishop Mark put forth a call for it's like a 3-pager. There's like some questions that he was asking in relation to the interfaith statement. We never received like a time in terms of like deadline, so I don't know if you know at the moment like when we're expected to send all of that information in by. That definitely would be helpful.
I believe it was last week. But let me try to talk about this statement. I think we're going towards 2 documents. Let me put it this way, right? One, I would think, an elaborate document on the role of faith actors on climate change and what they say about it and how they deal with it and what are the examples. However, there should be another statement that should not exceed 2 pages, maximum 2 pages, and probably less. So this document should not go into the details of what each of the religions or how we relate to climate change. It has, to take that as for granted. Everybody knows now what's next. So this 2-page statement should highlight the urgency of the issue, how it impacts the future of the people, what the faith organizations are doing, our commitments to do more in light of all the issues that are being discussed. So it has to be focused, responding to the priorities of the COP, as well as, a call to action. So it has to tell the people what have been and what will be done by faith organizations. So this is, we are not just, a voice of others. We are also a voice of our own selves. So we're not calling others to do, but we are also doing so. For example, on divestment, we need to say that the Church of England has already, for example, divested and committed. So we have good examples that we can show as commitments by faith organizations or inspire others to follow suit, but also call the decision makers of the world to take action for the future of the people and the future of the planet, and based on their moral and values and responsibilities towards the people and the planet. So the document that you have been seeing on Google Docs is the larger document, which will collate all the input from everybody. Then we will work on a shorter document that will be shared with everybody for refinement and for adoption at a later stage. I think this covers it all, unless anybody else has something to add. Thank you.
This is great. Thanks so much, Iyad. Just to clarify then, the 3-pager that we wanted to send to Bishop Mark to help develop the larger document, we don't need to send that in anymore? Everything's already been received, or are you still looking for inputs there?
No, please do send. It will enrich the discussions on the other one. So please, it might, we might take statements from here and there, but please do send. Thank you.
Lovely. Okay, definitely we'll send over. Thanks, Iyad.
Yeah, and then in regards to Dahlia's question from the meeting chat about how this interfaith statement would relate to the one that was made in 2021 and other statements, there have been dozens of interreligious statements on climate change over the past couple of decades. And, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but we do feel like this is sort of a arrow in our quiver that we could renew an interfaith statement. And as Mohammed said in the chat, also to highlight action by religious actors. So, for example, the Church of Finland and the Church of Sweden have both committed to being carbon neutral by 2030. Way of saying it's not just that religious teachings say we should care for the planet, but actually this is specifically what religious actors are doing. Okay, others want to say something about the interfaith statement? Okay, so then I'd like to move on to the next item, which is about the Interfaith Liaison Committee activities, including the Talanoa Dialogue. So several of the close to 30 people on the call right now were at the subsidiary body 58 conference that took place in Bonn, the mid-year UN climate conference. So if I understand correctly, there have been 58 SBs and 27 COPs, plus the original 1988 conference. So we're approaching 100 iterations of these climate conferences, and hopefully we will get better outcomes and a decrease in emissions as this process continues. So I'd just like to invite, I know that Steve was there, and also that Alexandra was there in Bonn, because there were a number of meetings that were held, including with staff of the UN FCCC Secretariat that Valerian Bernard arranged and others. And I just want to invite Alexandra and Steve and anyone else who was in Bonn to give us a bit of an update, because there was also a meeting of the Interfaith Liaison Committee that took place there, and Mohammed was there as well, and Jennifer. So feel free.
Yeah, I'm happy to chip in a little bit of what happened, but maybe first I'll pass it to, I believe Valerian is on this call with us for her to start us off, because I know she spent a lot of time in the 2 weeks during the SBs organizing both the Interfaith Liaison Committee engagement and then also some wonderful bilaterals as well. So maybe I'll pass it to Valerian.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me, Steve. Yes, we did have many interfaith meetings. We had one on a work of collaboration and information sharing, which was very interesting because we were able to discuss what the priorities of the different people who were there and organizations who were there were for the COP28. I believe we have sent the report of that meeting to the members of the ILC, so many of you must have received it. We also met with a senior member of the UNFCCC Secretariat, Mr. Violetti, who was able to welcome us and share with us how he felt our work was important and relevant. And we also met with the people working with communication and engagement at the COPs, at the within the UNFCCC Secretariat, and they also shared their interest in working with the interfaith. As well as that, we just had a meeting now for the Talanoa Dialogue, actually a few hours ago. And all of you who are interested to join this work are most welcome. We are still open to have participants from all the different religious organizations to facilitate dialogues online if you can't be there physically for the first day of the COP, or physically on the different topics that we have identified that are in negotiations during the COP28. And it was a pleasure to be able to work with Jonathan and Steve, Alexandra, Mohammed, and many others who were there with us. But maybe Steve, Mohammed, or Alexandra want to add something regarding the meetings we had.
Sure. Thanks, Valerian. So on our side, I think the only thing, like Valerian covered most of it, super comprehensive. The only thing that I'll add to like opportunities that were created during the SBs in conversations were that there was a specific offer made by the executive secretary's team through Megumi, who I believe Iyad has been in communication already about the pavilion. So we're like, all channels are clear in terms of they know what's happening and they're super excited and supportive of the work that is emerging. And they had offered that if during our programming, it would make sense for like their team to help us invite either member states or the different SB chairs, that they could help us facilitate some of those invitations and engagements as we see fit. So I'm sure like that just came up in conversation, but if we want to formally undergo a process to think about like who from the member state side or from like the UNFCCC team that we want to invite, they're more than happy to facilitate those individuals to come to the pavilion and either serve as speakers or engage with us in bilaterals and more intimate settings. And so that was super exciting to hear from them. And then I know Jennifer from PARD had mentioned that her kids are feeling sick, so she's like jumping in and out of this call, but she also had a really good meeting during the second week, bringing together like week 2 partners to speak about the pavilion and strategize a little of how we can ensure that there's a diversity of faith representation at the COP. And so we'll definitely be looking forward to, in the coming weeks and months, finding out who within our networks is able to engage, whether through the expression of interest or otherwise.
Thank you, Steve. And I just want to give a shout out to Steve, who engaged in some real self-sacrifice on behalf of all people and all species in spending a full 2 weeks at the Bonn Mid-Year Climate Conference. And I'll also just share that that I met in Bonn with Steve and Alexandra and Reverend Henry Grappe, who, as you know, works at the World Council of Churches, and others, about trying to coordinate efforts to set up meetings with country negotiators, both before the COP as well as during the COP. I realize that I know that Joel is on this call and ACT Alliance is involved in this. So in the near future, I'd like to try to convene a call of different organizations that are doing work to engage with country negotiators from a faith-based perspective, to try to coordinate these efforts, especially so that during the COP, we can have a group of religious leaders meeting with country negotiators and to have coordination with that. I'll also mention that there's another aspect of this work, which is the possibility of having celebrities involved together with religious figures. And so I'm going to reach out to Yo-Yo Ma, who I had an amazing chance to meet a number of months ago, and who actually is very involved in environmental work and sort of plays cello while speakers speak. And so the possibility of having some sort of among these 60 sessions that we're hoping to have at a religions pavilion, to have some of them could be with musicians together with religious figures. So that's another aspect of this. If any of you are connected to celebrities, that's another way of sort of increasing the profile of the work that we're doing. Iyad.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Steve mentioned. I have been in communications with UNFCCC, and I spoke to Megumi and her boss, Ina Paravanova. In fact, they are preparing an official response to my suggestions and the work that we are doing as faith organizations. So hopefully within a few days, I will be receiving such an official offer from them, and I will be happy to share it with everybody.
Okay, thank you. Others want to say something? Okay, and Valerian, could you also just say a word about the Talanoa dialogue and when that is scheduled for and what you have planned for that?
Of course, all of you are more than welcome to the Talanoa dialogue. We are doing this Talanoa dialogue, especially for the whole interfaith movement. So I do hope that Iyad and Jonathan and Mohammed and all the others here will be able to participate. And if you are interested in playing an active role, you are most welcome. It will happen in Christchurch on the first day of the COP. Christchurch is only less than 15 minutes away from the COP place. So it is a very large venue that can sit 600 people. We plan to have it in three different moments. One will be welcome, and then a panel that will concentrate on all the many important topics that on many of the important topics the COP28 is going to cover. So we will have probably 5 or 6 panelists, after which the speciality of the Talanoa dialogue is to allow each participant to be able to share their concern and vision about the 3 main indigenous questions of where are we at, where do we want to go, and how do we get there. So it's a very constructive conversation in which people who don't have much information can answer from their heart, and people who do have information can also share from their understanding of the negotiations. So it is a very interesting and open way. And from this Talanoa dialogue, we will create a call. And this call will be like another interfaith statement, if you wish, that will be all of us, because I do think that most of you will be with us. So it will be our statement from the COP to the COP that we'll be able to deliver. And after this dialogue, we will also have an interfaith service where we would also be happy to know to have a representation of all the different faiths and gender. It only lasts for less than an hour or an hour. So of course, so everybody will not be able to play an active role, but we would like it to be very, a very deep moment of peace and well-wishing for the results of the COP from all the participants. And after this, we will have a meal where people then can have the possibility of networking and having conversations. So this is how it is planned. If you want, I can read through to you, and we are open to, of course, more suggestions. But mainly the dialogues that we are planning are around youth participation in the negotiations, indigenous peoples' participation in the negotiations, gender inclusive climate action and the gender plan of action, mitigation and just transition, including just energy transition, adaptation, the global goal on adaptation, loss and damage, the global stocktake process, human rights in the negotiation, food systems and agriculture. So that is the document that we are still working on. And I am happy to say that we have an ILC meeting next week. So we will be able to share the document after that, because all those who will be present at the meeting might want to add to it. Did you have any specific question I didn't cover?
That's great, Valerian. Thank you for what you shared. I see that Iyad, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Valerian. And this is very important. Of course, we do want to encourage all of those who will be coming and attending COP28 to participate in the Talanoia dialogue and attend. So sharing the program would be very important, as well as for the programming of the first day of the Faith Pavilion, because we don't want, to invite people during the time that you will be having yours. So let's coordinate. Probably we will reserve that slot of the Talanoia dialogue. So, participants of the pavilion would be able to participate in your dialogue. So let's just know from when until when and how long it would take, so we can coordinate and organize. Thank you.
Okay, definitely. So I just copied an invitation to a panel we're doing at the Human Rights Council at the moment, because it's regarding climate change and human rights. And of course, we're working on the invitation. It will happen on the first day from about 4 p.m. to about 8:30 p.m. And if you are interested, we could also organize, like we organized during the biodiversity conference, some form of more condensed Talanoa dialogue for those who would be interested in engaging in such a process, because I'm sure that most people who will be there will be faith people in our Talanoa dialogue, but maybe at the COP there will also be more negotiators, and the form of dialogue really is a very good engaging form of conversation and brainstorming as well, and heartstorming, I would say.
Thank you, Valerian. I also see that Father Eduardo Agosto is on the call, who represented the Laudato Si movement at COP27 in Sharm. And not to put you on the spot, but I just want to invite you, Father Agosto, if you want to share the Laudato Si movement is, in addition to the high-level event that Iyad and Mohammed mentioned about, but at COP28 in terms of what you envision as the Laudato Si movement's approach.
Yes, thank you, Jonathan, for this kind invitation. Sorry, I'm on the bus. I'm traveling right now, and I couldn't get joining the call before. Just in name of the Laudato Si movement, I commit ourselves to participate and join you in all the activities that you are sharing. I would also appreciate if you can then share the agenda or the notes you are taking from this conversation, that I find it really very interesting. I will try, as in previous COPs, also to participate in those events that you are preparing in the name of LSM. We are working with other organizations for one-side event and an exhibit in COP28, and related with a Catholic open letter to the COP's presidency, in which we are convening manifestos from different events that will be happening throughout this year on climate change mitigation. And we are inviting at least 2 cardinals to participate in these site events, and we also think that these cardinals will be also available for any kind of events that you are preparing, in which it would be great to have the word or the message from cardinals, one from Latin America and other from Africa, representing the communities, faith communities in these continents. And I think it's relevant in terms of human rights and loss and damage, especially. And also, yes, I think I'm saying also Gina Castillo, that it's part of our organizers who are preparing this side event at COP28. So I don't know if she's able to share more on this, on what we are doing. But in the name of LSM, I'm very happy to serve you and also to be part of what you are organizing. So please don't hesitate to count on us on this. Thank you. If you have any questions, just let me know. Sorry, I hear a little bit with difficulties. Sorry, but I will try to answer any questions if you have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Father Augusto. We appreciate the efforts of the Laudato Si movement representing 1.2 billion Catholics. It's an important piece of the puzzle for a sustainable planet. And Gina Castillo, if you want to share anything, then we invite you to do so.
Thank you. Just to note that I was at Bonn and I did receive that invitation. Unfortunately, I couldn't join the meeting that I think Steve organized for those of us from faith organizations who were at Bonn, so apologies for that. I'm with Catholic Relief Services, who's part of the Caritas Federation, and we too will be at COP. I've done my best to update the existing Excel sheet on some of the religious figures that we think have said will be there. We're also going to organize a side event, most likely focused on loss and damage, because that is the theme that we've been very active on. We're expecting to release a research paper prior to COP on loss and damage, particularly non-economic losses and damage, which is something that the Vatican has insisted or has prioritized as part of its, focus on human dignity, which is really important in the conversation. One thing that I'd like to maybe ask is I'm sort of getting a bit confused on the various documents that are circulating, and just wonder if there's a central repository where we can see some of these statements that are working. I don't know if I've missed that email, but I'm just finding that there's a lot happening, which is fantastic. And thanks to all the great work that people are doing, but I like to see some of those documents. So thank you, Jonathan. Back to you.
Sorry, Jonathan, you're on mute.
Okay, you're welcome, Gina. Thank you. Part of this effort, which is, it's amazing just to be on this call with, these close to 30 people that we're all trying to we have a common vision for, faith-inspired, sustainable humanity, and to be able to manifest this together. And so part of the, the challenge that we're also trying to navigate is how to do this work in sort of smaller groups. And so that's why I mentioned earlier about having a working group that would focus on country negotiators, and then we have a smaller working group that's focusing on the pavilion, and then Valerian is coordinating this working group on the Talanoa dialogue, and then there's also likely a working group on the interfaith statements. So like not everyone is on all the email threads, but if anyone here has a particular interest in these different aspects of our collective effort, then I encourage you to, be in touch with me or Iyad about that. I see that Mama Lifar has a hand up.
Yes. Hello, everybody. I am working in the JPRC office of sisters and religious men, and we as sisters, we are committed to the work on the environment, especially bringing the voices from the grassroots to the international level. And as we're talking about the participation in COP28, so I just wanted to find out, can we have a space or are we welcome? That is one point. And the other point is also on this meeting that will take place in the Vatican. Will we have a space also to bring our voices of the people at the grassroots that we are in touch with and who are sharing their experiences of the effect that they are experiencing about the environment? So these are just the two questions I would like to find out. Thank you.
So I don't know if Iyad or Mohammed wants to respond, because I think that Mama Lifar's question was in regards to this event at the Vatican.
Well,
and also for COP28.
Yes,
Sorry.
well, of course, we value your contributions, and I think as Myra is on the call, and her participation in your meeting in Rome was very enlightening, and I hope that we will strengthen our collaboration with the sisters. And the issue with the Rome meeting, it's going to be a very small, according to the request from the Vatican. So we're trying to have representatives of different religions and different, sectors. So we might not be able to cover everybody and from everywhere, but we will do our best to have inclusive representation. Of course, I mean, the list will have to be approved by the Vatican and the Muslim Council of Elders and the partners. But definitely in COP28, it depends where we are going to have the meeting. Now, discussions are still going on, either to have it in the blue zone, there is still a possibility. But if it is in the green zone, then it will be easy for anybody to attend and take part and participate and in the discussions, in the bilateral meetings and so on and so forth. But even if it was to be in the blue zone, Muhammad is working as well on 2 or 3 general meetings outside of the blue zone. So again, we will not be limiting it to those accredited organizations. So we will do our best to be as inclusive and as inviting as we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Iyad. And I also see that Christine is on the call from Religions for Peace, and also just want to invite you, Christine, if there's anything you want to add about how the senior religious leaders who are involved with Religions for Peace might also be involved in this broader effort.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I was having some trouble with the mic. But we're currently undergoing internal review of the documents that we would like to share with the group. But in terms of the participation of religious leaders, I believe we can have good participation from our World Council. That's our international governing board. And it's made up of religious leaders, senior level religious leaders from across the globe. And we are just undergoing internal review of the particular religious leaders that we would like to involve in this effort, but rest assured that that is underway. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Christine. Great. So the last item on the agenda is just any other business or concerns that people want to bring up. Is there, I see we have a hand up from Joel.
Hi, thank you. Really encouraging. I think this is all really sounding really good. One of the things, and I know I've talked with Dr. Iyad about this in the past, is how might we be looking to engage the local faith communities? One of the things I'm very aware of is in Abu Dhabi, just down the road, we have the Abrahamic Family House, where we have Christians, Muslims, and Jews worshipping in their own facility side by side. Is there any attempt through any of this to intentionally engage the local faith communities in the bigger picture of what's happening around COP28, and how can we be involved in that? I know Anglican locally is supporting the Talanoa dialogue, and that's great, but just to sort of in an intentional way, in terms of leadership.
So the local community in Abu Dhabi and UAE in general will be participating. We will invite everyone to participate in the Talanoa dialogue, which is going to be hosted in the Christ Church in Jabal Ali. I think it's like 10-15 minutes from Expo City, where the COP is. And also we will organize a side event at the Abrahamic Family House with Peace Department. So in the two events, it's open for local faith community in UAE.
Thank you very much. No, that's good to know. I'm just keen that I think particularly given the location this year, I think it's a really great opportunity to get people who are living and working in these in the oil industry as well and things like that to really participate in this in a meaningful way. So thank you. That's really good to know.
And I was just wanting to add that Christchurch is also a place where many different local faiths are meeting. I know Hindus are meeting there, Christians of many kinds are meeting there. So we've also selected this place because it is a well-known place of convergence for many religions.
Thank you, Valerian. Natalia?
Hi, everyone. Just wanted to say, going off on what Mohammed said, I'm part of the Peace Department trying to organize a side event at the Abrahamic Family Houses. Right now, we're in the development stage, but if you have any suggestions for local leaders or leaders that you would want to attend this like interfaith ceremony for climate, leave my email in the chat and we'll be sending out more information as the side event becomes more solidified, but just wanted to give a brief context to that. And we're really open to collaborating. If you're interested in learning more, I'll leave my email in the chat. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Natalia. Well, we've had an hour of amazing collaboration. I'm actually really heartened by this coming together of all of us, because it's amazing what we can do together. And I'll also just say in regards to your question, Joel, that the more that we can involve local religious figures as well as ecologically minded ones, including there's a green sheikh in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai, for example, then it also lowers the carbon footprint of needing to bring in a lot of religious figures from outside. And so that's something I think that we should also aspire to. So thank you all for joining this meeting, and may we continue to be blessed in these efforts. So we'll plan to meet again next month, and thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Take care.
Thanks for facilitating the day. Thank you. Go well.
Jonathan, I believe Rachel is recording. So if she can stop recording, otherwise it will record everything that we will be saying afterwards.
Well, so I think that Asmira is actually recording because Rachel has left the meeting.
Oh, Asmira, are you recording? Asmira, are you still here?
Alternatively, I connect
yes.
you on WhatsApp. Do you want to do WhatsApp?
Yeah, if we can do WhatsApp.
Okay, so then
I'm not sure. Let me call you on WhatsApp and see if we can connect. Sometimes some countries it doesn't work with Jordan, for example. Hello? So it's working. So we